Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, they have released Season 2 of Strange New Worlds on DVD and HD. There's a steelbook with magnets where you can swap the covers and a few little interesting things like that, but there's also some deleted scenes and extended scenes, and one is from the horrific episode Charades, where they removed all of Spock's Vulcan DNA and made him fully human, which then made him act like a mentally challenged teenager. It was illogical and cringe and not funny and forced, and there's a deleted scene where number one introduces him to chewing gum, and of course because he's suddenly mentally disabled he can't actually work out how to chew chewing gum, or doesn't know how to chew chewing gum, so of course it was just the worst episode, and I'm glad they cut something out of it. I'd like to think they did it for sense, but it was probably just because of time. You get a poster of Subspace Rhapsody with I think both editions, and there's about 2 hours of special features, and I don't think I'm going to be buying it. I bought the first season. I gave it a chance. There was a couple of things I didn't like about the first season, which were kind of fixed in the second season when they, made it really clear and clarified that this is a different timeline, that people have been changing the timeline, which we sort of knew from back in Discovery with the Red Angel, that the timeline that they're in is not the same as the latest Star Trek. It's a different universe altogether, but at least they're coming halfway and acknowledging that it was at least a different timeline in that universe. So that was interesting, but the musical episode was just stupid. I really thought if they'd just done it as a musical, it would have worked. But they actually did it in universe, where there was an actual reason. We were supposed to actually believe people were actually singing in our world, not just doing a musical version of an episode, which could have been fun. I have no problem with doing different genres and stuff like that in a TV series. But to try and make it real and make it in universe and make it logical and rational and explained scientifically was just jumping several sharks. They just ended up in the water being eaten. But so I don't know if I'm going to buy it. I really don't know if I'm going to buy it. Part of me wants to, because the production value of some of the episodes I would like to see on Blu-ray on my TV, because most of them I watched in not the best quality on my computer. So there's that. But I don't really want to support the show. But part of me isn't as bothered by it because they have established a different timeline. But then there's episodes like the crossover episode where they had the animated series characters come over from Lower Decks, and they just made it ridiculous. And then they actually showed the real life crew members in animated form at the end. And there's so many issues with that. And one of the issues is that they've always established that live action is canon, but cartoon isn't. And that was one of the issues with Star Trek, the animated adventures of Star Trek, or Star Trek the animated series, was that it was brilliant. It was basically made, in canon with the original Star Trek. They had all these ideas, Filmation, I love them, but they had some very basic ideas about, we have to have kids on the ship, kid crew members that children can relate to and all this stuff, and Gene Roddenberry said, no, this is Star Trek, they love Star Trek, they will understand Star Trek, kids, fell in love with Star Trek and grew up with it, and that worked. But then for the new Star Trek, they're like, oh no, we have to make it for kids, so they've got like kid characters in Prodigy and no adults and no Starfleet crew, and it's just ridiculous. It's Star Wars basically, and it's like, well, if they just made Lower Decks canon because it's actually in a live action episode, then doesn't that mean the original animated series is canon as well? What is very short Treks? Are they canon? They said they're not canon, but they're animated. And animated is now canon because they put canon in it. It's just, they have no sense of how to maintain this show and this universe. And they do so many things that just make a mess out of everything and a mockery out of everything. And I don't know, this is not a review. I don't have the DVD. I just saw that. I didn't even watch the scene because I've been trying for months to get that whatever that was, that use of Spock in that episode out of my head. The last thing I need is another scene of them making him into a mentally disabled teenager and making just an absolute joke out of him, which makes no sense. If it actually had made some rational, scientific, logical sense, and they really had some good humor about it, it would be fun. But they just like, oh, let's just make fun of Spock because he's just, it was just, oh God. I mean, they need to teach Spock how to be a human. Like, he hasn't been half human and lived with humans and had a human mother his whole damn life. It's just made for people with no intelligence, and it's just so frustrating. It just insults you when you try and watch it, if you have any sense and intelligence. It's just really difficult to not hate. So I don't know if I'm even trying anymore, but I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I just had to comment on just the idea that there was more of Charades, and I just guess it's a blessing that they actually cut some of it out and then they put it on the deleted scenes.